Hey guys, what's up man? Unlike my other videos where I talk about the power scaling aspect of One Piece, today I will be talking about another problem that is pretty big within the One Piece community. And no, it isn't the absurd amount of bad fake out deaths, I've already covered that, shameless plug. Rather, today we will be talking about the power cliffing that occurs during the series. Now, this problem mainly occurs during the most recent arcs like Whole Cake and Wano, but before we talk about how ridiculous it gets, we should talk about the already established power scaling within the series. Luffy and the others, as the series progresses in my opinion, grow at a reasonable rate, and a good example of power-ups that were not completely ridiculous are the ones utilized in Alabasta and Enies Lobby. Well, more so for Enies Lobby, as in Alabasta the only ones who really do grow in power are Luffy and Zoro respectively. You see, in Water 7 specifically, the group is outmatched against CP9 and knows if they want to save Robin they can't lose again. In the case of Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, these three do just adapt and grow as the series goes on naturally, but in the case for everyone else, they either finally show off what they can fully do or use their ingenuity combined with their versatility. Besides Luffy's gears, Zoro's Asura, and Sanji's Diablo Jambe, there's nothing too crazy to know about the gaps of power here. And I feel like even with these power-ups, the power cliffing isn't insane. Especially when given the fact that in the next arc we have Luffy getting a crazy amp that he doesn't even keep to weaken Moria in order to defeat him. And this was with the help of the other Straw Hats, mind you. And then the only other fighter there damn near gave his life so that they can live to see the next day. Then the last arc of pre-time skip is basically telling you, hey, our main cast is weak, it's time for them to glow up. Obviously our crew becomes very strong, and for reference we see Luffy in base slamming the pacifists that he himself in Gear 2 couldn't even phase in pre-time skip, which I think is a very good representation of growth and isn't out of the ordinary, as these characters need to reach out of that pre-time skip tier of power to stand a chance against the New World. And honestly, nothing really crazy in terms of power cliffing happens until we get to after Dressrosa. You see, we just got done seeing Luffy's new full power barely defeating Doflamingo, and now they have to go and defeat his boss, who has goons that all individually slap Doflamingo. But this is in comparison to Dofi and the Beast Pirates. Before we even talk about Wano or the Beast Pirates, we need to talk about the growth Luffy goes through in Whole Cake. Now, Luffy with Gear 4 simply couldn't take out Cracker and needed Nami's help to win. After this encounter, he should grow, which is why sometimes he can catch Katakuri lacking, but Katakuri proceeds to show that he outclasses this Luffy in every way, shape, and form. And this is when we get introduced to the concept of Haki blooming, which, as Rayleigh explains it, is a state that Haki users enter when clashing for a long period of time, and due to the constant back and forth of their Hakis clashing, this allows their Haki to essentially bloom, allowing the user to grow exponentially in power. For comparison, base Luffy ends up doing just as well, if not better, than the initial Gear 4 that fought Katakuri, and then proceeds to show off another version of Gear 4 that makes him at least a blitz level difference faster in speed. So by the end of Whole Cake, Luffy is a goddamn monster, and with Gear 2 should give anyone in Dressrosa the works. Besides Sabo and Fujitora, I should probably mention that. So by this point in the story, you're probably thinking, okay, Luffy can beat up Big Mom's strongest general, maybe he's reaching that Yonko tier? Wrong! Kaido ends up one-shotting this version of Luffy and beats him so badly that he's forced to learn advanced Haki. We see Luffy naturally getting more powerful on top of learning this in order to get past Kaido's durability. Now, Luffy obviously got way stronger, but we need to see where he stacks up now. This is where we're introduced to Ulti, who is arguably the weakest Tobiropo member, who would go on to not only press base Luffy, but even force him to rely on Gear 4, who, mind you, the last person who did this was the strongest villain Luffy faced up to this point. And it gets much worse when people think Jack is cannon fodder, and yet Kaido respects his strength but calls Doflamingo weak, which should speak volumes about Jack, and you know, a lot of people should at least give him some type of credit. I mean, bro is stated to be the third strongest Tobiropo, and even the weakest one has shown the ability to at least press Katakuri. And we even see Queen restraining a post Udon based Luffy, who at this point is just far better than the Luffy who was pressing base Katakuri. And we then see Luffy in base with advanced armament being considered a top tier, using Gear 4 along with having the assistance of 4 other people to have a chance against Kaido. And then we go from that to Luffy then by himself doing better against a Kaido who would be stronger than the initial Kaido we saw on Rooftop because of Haki Bloom. And then Kaido eventually overpowers him, and it looks like Luffy's down for the count, but then bro gets another transformation on top of this. Luffy then surpasses his Gear 4 self and taps into a stronger form of Gear 4. Then Luffy in the next arc in base surpasses that and learns advanced Haki, and then during his fight with Kaido we see base Luffy even doing better than that initial Luffy. And to top it all off, he has another gear transformation. This would mean Luffy by the end of Wano in base would slam the Luffy in Gear 4 who fought Kaido on Rooftop. That is genuinely insane to me, bro. I'm sorry, I don't care how much Haki was blooming, that is an insane level of increase. And I'm not even mentioning the other Straw Hats who either scale to ulti or members who are stronger than her, who at the very worst is many times more powerful than Doflamingo and would thrash him. This means yes, even Nami could do this, which may or may not be justifiable because she has Zeus, but then again, Nami even without Zeus can harm ulti. Chopper as well goes from like contender for weakest Straw Hat to fucking drawing blood against Kaido's second in command. We also have some of the Tobi Roppo surviving encounters with Big Mom, which would at the very least be supplementary evidence, since Doflamingo even just thinking of Kaido had him shivering, who Big Mom is relative to. And then members like King and Queen would slap any of Big Mom's commanders with ease. Again, the power of the Tobi Roppo members definitely vary, and specific members can/can't beat Katakuri, but for the most part, all of the members can at the very least harm him. I probably will make a more in-depth video explaining the Straw Hats' power excluding the Monster Trio, as I feel like their growth can be way more elaborated on. And the point of me bringing all this up, I guess, I feel like I've just been rambling the whole time, but I just wanted to show you guys the ridiculous power creep / cliffing, whatever the fucking term you're using, got so insane, and it's all because of these two motherfuckers. I think for at least Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, and maybe Nami, you can justify their power jump, but as for the others, there's really nothing to say for that. I get that Oda has to make them relevant for the story, but at least come up with something, bruh. Say Chopper and Nami are doing push-ups between Whole Cake and Wano. Give me something, bruh. And it also does come down to the fact that in the second arc of post-time skip, they already established the goal of taking down 2 out of the top 4 pirates in the world. It made sense in pre-time skip because they were put into situations where they could grow. And soon in Egghead, we will see where this Luffy stacks up in comparison to one of the top tiers, that being Kizaru. But until then, you guys, you can at least see how Chopper goes from being bottom 3 Straw Hats to blocking attacks from a Yonko and drawing blood from a commander stronger than Katakuri. And how I think that's a little ridiculous, and, you know, it should be pointed out. A lot of people are very in denial about this scaling and believe that I'm just like taking little feats and like over exaggerating it. But dude, it is established within the series that these characters just jump in power for some reason. The power cliffing in One Piece is definitely an issue. However, this video not only was to address said issue, but to also kind of let the bigger One Piece fandom know that these characters simply do just get ridiculously powerful. It happens. And if they don't get these crazy power jumps, they die in the next arc or do absolutely nothing. And that's just the way it is, like it or not.